Hi everyone. I wanted to take some time today to go through basically how the whole world right now in crypto, especially from the retail investor perspective, everyone is just focused on price targets. And I've been analyzing this, I've been doing it for myself over the last couple of years and really trying to formulate an idea of what this actually should look like for the normal retail investor. And what I'm going to say in this video is probably a little bit controversial, but the antithesis, long word, of what I'm trying to say in this video really comes down to we shouldn't be focusing on what people's price predictions are for an asset, but more focused on how your strategy for taking profits and actually making some money and not losing money when the market goes up and you're at the peak of the market and you think it's going to go further. The benefits of having a plan, not just that are really plans focused on price targets, are a little bit weak. And they're weak because these price targets are made just kind of pulled out of not nowhere. There's usually thought behind those price targets, but they're not optimized for your situation, your financial needs and wants. And so therein lies kind of the biggest problem with exit strategies, is that they're all focused on price targets. And while price targets are completely fine and you need those in a strategy, understand what the price targets are and what they're for. They're for that token, they're not for you. So when you look at these price targets, if they're not relevant to your current situation, then they're kind of pointless because, I talked about this a little on a few videos ago. Most people don't actually even know what they need or what they want from crypto. And therein lies a really big problem, because if you don't know what you want or need, how do you know what the destination is? And so I've written a few things down on a piece of paper here just so I make sure I cover everything. And I'm on a road in the middle of nowhere. I'm gonna get splashed. I've got my good shoes on today so I don't get wet, but I may have to overcome some hurdles here, like right now, this car. Okay, so let's look into this. So the first thing that people will need to do when creating their own strategy here, and bear in mind, I'm working on all of this behind the scenes here, working really hard on it to try and find a way to kind of formalize it, make it formulaic so that anyone can make a strategy that's actually optimized for them. But the first part in calculating that or creating that strategy really is understanding and calculating what your current lifestyle is and what your desired lifestyle is, but a bit more than that. What does your desired lifestyle actually cost? I've got to move out of the way for another car here. What does that actually cost for you? Most people haven't put enough thought into that, really. Because if you do put the thought into it, what you end up realizing is that your price targets for assets are considerably lower than you thought. So this is a perfect way to illustrate how everyone's focusing on, let's say a $10 XRP. But in reality, $10 takes you to a certain point, and that might far exceed what you actually need in terms of your desired lifestyle. And so, looking and comparing your current situation, I hope you can hear me. I didn't want to go in the car today because I wanted it to be different, but it's pouring and it's windy outside. And I actually liable to get lost here, but anyway, let's carry on. I hope the wind is not messing with the audio here. I've got to stand on the other side so I don't get run over. Really kind of looking at a granular level at what your strategy would yield and what you need out of your strategy makes a really big difference. It really, really does. I explained that story the other day of the NFL player that really just put 2 years into the NFL, sat on the bench, got paid a couple of million, and found a way to just extend that 2 million out for the rest of his life, just being smart and realistic. He wasn't there to try and make tens of millions or hundreds of millions and just be this mega wealthy guy. His whole idea was, well, I have a desired lifestyle, which is a couple of vacations a year. I don't want to have to work, all of these things. I want my children to go to this school, and I want to be able to afford that. So give that to a wealth manager. What does he say? He says to do this, this, and this, and you'll have that lifestyle for the rest of your life. Easy. You're actually done. And so it takes away that need, just the understanding that you don't need $20 million, which would come at, let's say, a $50 XRP. What if you just needed a $10 XRP and it would get you everything you wanted in life? And so I'm really trying to urge people to consider that as, let's not look at $50 or $50,000 for an XRP, which, look, very well possible. These things are all possible, but it doesn't get that much better for you once you've reached the milestone that you need for your desired lifestyle. If you could have your desired lifestyle from now until you die, and it only takes $1 million, what is the point? There really isn't much point in targeting $50,000 and saying I'm holding till $50,000 when you can get that desired lifestyle much, much sooner. Now you might hold extra. It might be part of your plan to hold extra so that you can do something charitable, or that car that you don't need but you've always dreamed of having. You could buy that with that extra crypto. But that's all part of a solid plan, right? You need to hedge on the side of what your true satisfied life looks like. Hedge on making that happen first. Then you can worry about, the extras, the bonuses. But understand that the bonuses will not feel as good as simply achieving the original goal in the first place. That's what I'm trying to say with that part. So let's look at the next thing on the list. Then additionally, it's actually a lot of it's about being aware of what other people are doing. So, or what other people have done that has steered them in the wrong direction. So the biggest one of all of these is actually just realizing that emotions are your worst enemy. So for many people in this whole crypto space, you're basically untested. You haven't been tested yet. Your emotions haven't truly been tested. When I was, learning this for the first time, my emotions took hold to such a degree. It worked out okay for me. And I basically took profits too early. It felt too early, and looking at the price chart, it would be very easy to make a kind of assessment of what I did that day as, it was too early. As I've progressed and as I've learned and as I've talked to very successful investors, I'm just going to turn around. As I've talked to these very successful investors, I've come to realize that there is no such thing as selling too early. There just isn't. If the price has gone up from where you started and it exceeds the amount you would have got in the stock market or in a property, you won. It doesn't matter. You actually won. You got a higher return on investment than Warren Buffett did year on year. You've outperformed the market considerably. As long as that criteria has been met, there is no way you have lost. In fact, if you have just beaten in inflation, there's no way you have lost. You haven't lost. You have won at that point. And so, obviously, we're trying to take advantage of the most volatile market in the world. It's a new asset class. We're trying to not just look for, 7% growth year on year. We're trying to get considerably more. I understand that. But there are things like emotions that can take hold. For me, it worked out because I sold early, and I came to find out that actually just selling at even a slight profit was just good. And in fact, there is no such thing as early, but there is such thing as selling too late, which is often the side that people fall on when they get too emotional. So typically the story is, and look, you can go and find this out the hard way, or you can listen. People will see the prices go up. They don't have a plan in the first place, right? So that's the first thing that doesn't help. But they take that lack of plan and just think, we'll see how it goes. I'll see what my gut says at the time. And so what really happens in the end is that the prices go way up. Everyone's in hysteria. You quickly start to believe that this is just the way it is in crypto. You're like, it just goes up. It just goes up. It doesn't go down. It just always goes up. That 3-year bear market? Nah, I don't remember that. It just goes up. Crypto's great. Easy money. Oh, and then Bitcoin gets to 60,000. You go, yeah, definitely. I see it going to 100,000, 120,000, a million. It could go to 1 million this bull run, right? And so the emotions take over. And while those price predictions are feasible for those assets, losing concept of time in the emotion of the prices going up, like these are all things that high performing investors just understand. They just understand that, I've removed emotions because it ends up in this terrible concoction of decisions. I also know that, selling too early just isn't really a thing. Like they have this list, and this is a list I've been kind of building personally and having watched, high performing investors. They just have this list that they kind of these rules that they never go back on, because if you follow those rules, you just won't lose. And again, like I said, this is a list I'm working on myself and building, and ultimately we'll end up sharing. But let's get this list. I don't want to miss anything in the list. So yeah, there are. Let's just recap here. We understand the bull run's coming. We understand people aren't ready. We know that people's plans are not optimized for themselves. They're actually more optimized on a number, a price target that other people have had. That's not really based on anything in reality. Certainly nothing in your reality, which is the most important. It's raining bad, so apologies for this. Then we've got, the understanding of your current situation versus your desired situation, calculating what that costs and what that really looks like in reality, not based on the guy who's got a Lambo. You might not necessarily want a Lambo or need a Lambo. So your plan has to be unique to you and not based on other people's. Then we've got that list of common mistakes that, top investors use, that they just don't lose money. And I've just stepped in my first mud puddle. That was lovely. Oh, God. And then there are other things that they do that streamline their processes. And so this is the next one on the list. There are things that these top investors are doing to really remove the fat in their process. So everything is done with a process. We'll get into processes a little bit more later. But every one of these top investors is doing something that removes all of the noise, is the point. So an example of noise is emotion. Of course, there's overlap there. But there's other noise, like fees. This is a great example. The amount of people I've talked to about their exit strategies and just like generally what are you doing once all of this happens? A lot of the answers are putting obstacles in the way of making a decision. So a decision to have a strategy is way better. I'm just rinsing my feet off here. These are the good shoes, see? These are barber shoes. I'm very fancy. People put things in the way of making a decision, and ultimately putting things in the way of making a decision prolongs the time duration to make a decision, and ultimately, because people are emotional, they forget about the decision to make a decision, and therefore a decision never gets made. So they remove the fat in these processes, like the question I kept getting when I was doing consulting calls was, yeah, but what are the fees associated with that? If I sell at this point and I have to calculate the fees. This is just a question that doesn't get asked. from high performing or experienced investors, in my experience with them, they just don't ask that question about fees. They understand there's going to be a fee, and they might incorporate that into their plan. Like, I need to account for these fees, but it's not an obstacle to progress in the plan. So typically these guys already have like their plan set in stone, and we're going to get into that in a second. But things like the fees, they're not obstacles, but rather part of the checklist. And so, we really need to learn to streamline our processes here with the exit strategies. I would say when you're making an exit strategy, one of the things you can do is just not watch content creators for a certain period of time. It allows you to then realign with what's important to you and what you need, and stops you adding this fat. It's a great way to put it. If you're sat in front of the fridge all day and there's just junk food in there, and you're sat there all day and you're just right next to it, you're just eating up all of that food in there. You're getting really unhealthy. You're eating loads of terrible food. Ultimately, you're going to end up fat. Literally, you're going to end up fat. That's just not constructive to any fitness goals. And so what people who get really fit will do is remove the opportunities that they have to be by the fridge. So they're not by the fridge anymore. And instead of sitting by the fridge, they go out and they go for a walk, or they go and run. And therefore they're losing fat, and it's moving, there's progress there towards a goal, versus adding fat and not progressing towards anything. Do you see the difference? So it's the same thing with kind of the strategy for your exit. Remove the fat in the process and you'll just see better results. You want to minimize the time duration of making a decision to get closer to your result. I think it's more windy up here. I'm going to go back down. So streamlining your processes. Of course, I'm working on streamlining mine and many others as well, to really make sure that they've got that nailed, and that's not really a stumbling block for their strategies or anything. And then we move on to the checklists. This is really, really exciting one for me. I really think what most people are looking for in anything in crypto, and really anything in life, is for people to tell them what to do. A lot of the time people don't want to put the time and effort into thinking what they should do for themselves, even though they're really only the ones who really know what they need and want. But for some reason, they ignore that. I think the thing that solves that problem, the thing that really unlocks the solution, are checklists. Now I say checklists, like everyone knows what a checklist is. It's kind of boring. But when you convert a checklist into a procedure, a system, it becomes one of the more valuable things that you have. And so, of course, you guessed it, I am working on a system that allows people to do that, to figure out their own strategy. And I've discovered that the biggest investors out there, they all have this system. They all have a checklist. Some of them who are highly intelligent, that checklist is just kind of ingrained and built in. For people who are learning to be at that caliber, they're printing out systems, checking them off every time they need them, and there are no emotions involved. They do the exact processes that are required in an emotionless environment. Just having the checklist, by the way, you go through the checklist, there's no thought of emotions, there's no thought of what this influencer said or what this guy said on Twitter. It's just you executing a plan that you have had, and you're doing it in a systemized way. So, it's one thing to say, everyone, you need a system. The system will allow you to follow through with your plan. But then you're like, wait, how do I make a system? And there's a whole other level of complexity. And I really think that's what people are looking for. I think people are looking for, hey, like, here's a personalized checklist, or more like, here's a framework for a checklist that you can personalize to make it suit your financial wants and needs. And when the time comes, when the prices are up, when your price targets are met or certain events have happened, you can just execute on that plan. You just go down that checklist, go through the system, and the system can be, really honestly can be as granular as click here, click here, click here, do this, do that. And it, it really can be systemized to the degree of click by click. I tend to really like click by click systems because it takes all of it away. Because if you're all of the emotion and all of the uncertainty and anxiety out of selling or exiting, it takes it all away. Because if you imagine this situation, right? You've even got your plan, you've got your strategy, it's all sorted. But then you go onto Coinbase or Binance and they've updated their user interface. Right? They've updated it since the last time you went on there. Now, the sell button or the move to the bank money button on the website, it's not there anymore. It's in a different place. Can you see how emotions can start creeping in at this point, even though you've got a system? So you've got your system, and now you're thinking, oh, the system's all out the window, I don't know where to click. The emotions start getting hold, then you take like 2 hours too long to execute on your plan. And now you're thinking about what did that cost me, that delay of 2 hours on my plan? Oh, it's just cost me $2,000. It's like, emotions creep in even with these systems. So that's why I like to have things click by click. And so, that's part of the system I'm building here, is to have those click by click systems accessible to everyone. That just kind of guide you through the process, literally click by click. So emotions can't come in, and you can just kind of go through your system and your process to exit the market based on, which is a strategy based on your own wants and needs and desires. And there's nothing really to go wrong with that system. What that means at the end of the day is that you end up executing a plan and exiting the market, securing profits at optimal times rather than holding and waiting for price targets that somebody else has made, only for you to think the price is going higher, for you to lose all your profits and be back down where you started. So there are three options. Option number one is you don't make a plan and you allow emotions to come in and you time the peak like no one has ever done. You are the one who could do it. You timed the peak. You are special and unique, and you timed the peak. Option two is that you make a plan and you make it based on somebody else's plan for the numbers of the assets concerned, and you waiting for that price target, and that price target never comes. So now you're down in the bear market again, 8 years later, and you've seen nothing from crypto. All because, even though you had the best intentions and you made a plan, the plan were based on the wrong foundation. And you basically got caught up in the wave. Lots of people won, lots of people lost, and you were on the losing side. Now, option three is where you actually make a plan, just like option two, but you make this plan based on the foundation of your own wants and needs, based on your own situation, based on your own desired outcome, and created in such a way to where a system has been created that is click by click. This is what I do at this point, and this is what I do at this point. So yes, option three, you may leave early based on what everyone else in the retail market says. But you, with strategy number three, will leave as a winner. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. I obviously, the way I set it up, it's obviously a no-brainer. But sometimes it takes that kind of explanation to show that it truly is a no-brainer. Now, I've got a few more things on the list here. My hands are getting freezing. Everything's getting wet. Okay, so then there's like the after part, which, you know, this is something I'm very busy in the background here. It's the moment when you have actually clicked sell. Now what? Who do you call? It's so tough because, you know, for many people in this community, you are about to come into money in this bull run with a properly executed plan. You're going to come into money that is you've not seen before. You've not seen that kind of money. I will be in that situation as well. So the first instinct is, oh my goodness, I've got all this money. I have no idea what to do with it. Like, what do I even do with this much money? And because everyone, you know, who has created a plan at this point, you'll also want a plan for the future, like what to do after. And this really is where the intention of my 1% mastermind thing. I'm not telling you to go and like subscribe or join. It's on Discord as we speak right now, and the Discord is just not a very good experience. So the value of the mastermind cannot be undermined, but the experience right now is just not great. So that's the intention. It's kind of like, okay, so if we understand that top investors are using basically systems and processes like a checklist when to rinse and repeat every bull run or every time the market goes up or whatever it is, there must be systems for navigating after we've clicked sell. So now we've clicked sell, we've had a load of money come in, and now what? Who do we contact? And so there must be a system for that. And so that's what I'm working on for the mastermind too, where we have a click by click. I'm not even, anyone who's seen it in the mastermind already, who I've kind of previewed, this is how granular it is going to be. So prices have gone up. You'll go onto the system and download the checklist that I've made. And this checklist literally says, okay, so you want to keep it secret, right? You've got this money, you want to keep it secret. Here's how you inform a small group of people. Here's a text template you can use. Here's an email template you can use. Here's a DM template you can use to tell the people that need to know. Here's an NDA agreement that you can get people to sign if you need it. Like that granular. And then you move forward like, okay, now I need to contact an accountant. Here's the template for the email to the accountant. And you just fill in the gaps. Like, this is how granular these systems are. And it's quite a heavy undertaking for any one person to kind of put all of that together. So me saying to everyone, basically, you've got to go out and make this super granular process. Some of you in this watching this video will actually go out and do it. And you'll be incredibly in such a better position than the vast majority of people. Because, you know, you hit your price targets, you've hit sell based on your optimal strategy that you've made. And now you're just on to the next system. It's like, okay, now I'm going to email my accountant, fill in the blanks with these templates, and they're going to respond. We're going to set up a meeting. Now I'm going to message a wealth manager from the directory of professionals in the mastermind, or whoever you've found. Like, I'm telling you, you don't have to go to the mastermind to do all this stuff. You can find these people yourself. I would just say, when you're recruiting these people or you're hiring these people, make sure they know more about crypto than you do. And if not more, then at least they're comparable and they can have a conversation with you about crypto, because I wouldn't underestimate or undervalue your understanding of this market. Obviously in the mastermind, I've done that already, and I've vetted the people. So you message your wealth manager, you message an estate planner with all the templates that have been provided. And I'm just saying, there's a system to all of this. And so, you know, the accountant says, oh, we need to transfer assets from you as a person to your LLC that we're forming. Okay, well, we need a letter of sale. I will have a template of a letter of sale that you can just fill in the blanks. And these will be professional documents. They're actually called notaries. So these notaries are written by lawyers and written by accountants, but provided as a template. So these templates will be given by the professionals. You can just fill in the blanks. They're legally binding. and sound documents that you can just apply to your system and your process, your checklist for making sure that this all gets done properly without emotion. And then the next level of that is truly understanding, like, in which assets am I going to diversify into? How am I planning to get this yield? You know, am I reinvesting into some sort of staking thing or AMM? Or am I going complete 180 and going to like traditional property to flip houses? There's another system for that. I guess the whole point of this video is to highlight the importance of these systems and how, you know, you've really got to get your act together. It's coming. It's right around the corner. I do talk more about conceptually about that whole idea of what is optimal for you as a person, and how, you know, exiting the market should be based on what you need in this video right here. So I'd go and watch that video. It's another long watch like this, but I think these videos are valuable. If you want to see more from me and more like this on a variety of different topics, then let me know in the comments right below this video. Stay emotionless. I'll see you in the next one.